And I really appreciate everybody coming to this special session of the Orange County Legislature dated Tuesday, the 28th of 2023. I would ask that you please silence all your cell phones and any electronic devices you have, and please stand and join me in a moment of silence, followed by the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and justice for all. Okay, at this time, our clerk will read the roll. Fagion?
Here.
Paduk? Amo? Anagnestakis? Benton? Brescia? Cheney? Ellers? Hines? Lujan? Menuda? O'Donnell? Ramos? Riskevich? Sassy? Sierra? Stiganga? Sutherland? Tautel? Tui?
Here.
Benelli. 15 present. Okay, since this is a special meeting, I would ask that the clerk read the notice of the special meeting. To members of the Orange County Legislature, notice is hereby given pursuant to Article 2, Section C4 of the Legislative Manual that a special meeting of the Orange County Legislature will be held in the Legislative Chambers, 255 Main Street, 3rd floor, Goshen, New York, on March 28, 2023 at 5:15 p.m. to consider the adoption of the following to wit. 1, resolution of the Orange County Legislature opposing Part AAA of Senate Bill S 4005B, seeking to appoint monitors to oversee the Orange County Industrial Development Agency. 2, resolution of the County Legislature of the County of Orange pursuant to New York State Constitution, Article 9 and Municipal Home Rule Law, Section 40, sending a home rule request to the New York State Legislature, seeking enactment of a Senate bill and an Assembly bill for a special law pursuant to New York State Tax Law, Section 1210, extending the 0.75% increase to the sales tax. The public is welcome to attend in person or view via live streaming. Please see county website, www.orangecountygov.com, then proceed to legislative calendar for the link. By order of the chairwoman of the Orange County Legislature. Thank you, Jean. Please let the record reflect that Legislator Lujan is now present. All right, is there any public participation? Anyone signed up? Okay, so let's move on to item number 1. Legislators Cheney and Amo, resolution of the Orange County Legislature opposing Part AAA of Senate Bill S 4005B, seeking to appoint monitors to oversee the Orange County Industrial Development Agency.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Before we start with any questions or comments, I would like to ask our legislative counsel to give us a brief synopsis of this particular proposed bill.
So a few of the highlights of this bill, particularly Part AAA of Senate Bill 4005B, which is the Senate Budget Proposal Bill. The proposal seeks to amend Section 912 of the General Municipal Law, which establishes the Orange County Industrial Development Agency. The proposal seeks to have up to 2 monitors appointed by and serving at the pleasure of the Director of the Authority's Budget Office to provide, quote, oversight, guidance, and technical assistance related to the fiscal policies, practices, programs, and decisions of the OCIDA, including but not limited to decisions, actions, and policies related to contracts and payment in lieu of taxes agreements. The board is to provide the monitors with meeting agendas, all resolutions and motions for each board meeting no later than 72 hours prior to meetings. Copies of proposed contracts or pilot agreements are to be provided to the monitors at least 7 days prior to the meetings. In addition, the bill proposes that if the monitors are not provided such agreements or contracts at least 7 days prior to the meeting, the monitors may remove an item, including board resolutions or motions, from consideration by the board at the meeting where same was to be discussed. Monitors have the discretion to disapprove of any contract, pilot agreement, agreement to waive mortgage recording taxes, or agreement to provide sales tax exemptions proposed by the board with 72 hours notice prior to the planned consideration of same. Also pursuant to the proposal, the monitors shall have discretion to make changes to the bylaws and policies of the IDA, as well as the IDA's uniform tax exemption policy. Those changes must be made with 72 hours notice to the board. In addition, in consultation with the monitors, the board shall adopt a conflict of interest policy that complies with all existing applicable laws, rules, and regulations. Also pursuant to the proposal, monitors shall have the power to approve or disapprove of the appointment, hiring, or contracting of officers, employees, or agents by the board after 10 days following the submission of the recommendation of same by the board to the monitors. The director of the ABO shall do an enhanced review of the budget decisions and pilot agreements of the IDA. And those are the main highlights. It is a rather significant proposal. There are other portions that are also included in there, but these are the main highlights of it.
Thank you very much. I have been notified that the county executive is present, Honorable Stephen Newhouse, and I believe he wanted to say a few words. So, welcome. You have to hit the button.
You want me to repeat the whole comment? I did not want to say a few words, but a couple of you asked me for my opinion on this. So I think really what we're talking about here is the county legislature, the 21 of you, I know a couple of you are missing, has the authority and complete oversight over the Orange County IDA. What this bill in Albany would do is have some oversight or a lot of oversight pushed to the ABO. So let me just refresh you guys on what the ABO did for you guys. Every year, the Orange County IDA submits their records of all the great stuff they're doing. They said, rubber stamped it, good to go. Meanwhile, the legislature, you guys said, I think something screwy is going around here, namely Jimmy O'Donnell, and the rest of you backed him up on this. ABO said, no, nothing to see here. Everything's good to go. Good to go. So then you guys went to the New York State Comptroller, the district attorney, the attorney general. The attorney general said, district attorney, you got this. And if it wasn't for the local push from you guys, nothing would have happened. They would have probably still been stealing money today. Now, the legislature voted, I believe it was 19-1. Lori Tatel, I love you. I think you, back then, you opposed it. You said the ABO did a great job. We don't need to send an audit to them. But you guys did your own audit and you sent it to them. And look, nobody really knew what was going on. But I'm just saying that you guys have had an overwhelming unified front on this from day one. So let's go back to what the ABO would be doing. You'd be sending your power, you'd be basically giving your power up to an organization that said that everything was good to go back in the day when millions of dollars were stolen and probably not returned to the taxpayers. The second thing, in my opinion, is you start having big companies are going to be like, why even bother with the IDA? I was asked by a couple of legislators to call up one of the a retired business owner in Orange County this week and ask him if he wanted to serve on the IDA. And he didn't say no. He said, Steve, are you effing kidding me? I thought we were friends. Why would you ask me to be on this board? This board, the legislature, 21-0, unanimously appointed the members of the IDA board members right now. All those IDA members were voted yes by all of you. They were accused of being a criminal enterprise. The only people that have responsibility, if those people are criminals, are the 21 of you. And we know they're not. They're trying to do their best. Now, look, does the IDA need some work? Heck yeah. They always need work. Do you want to see a company come in there and say, yeah, it was coming anyway, but you know, if you give me the incentives, it'll make it come quicker, or I'll be here a little sooner, or I'll hire more local. They need to clean that act up, definitely. But do you want to give or parlay your authority up to Albany? Hell no. Hell no. We have we are one of the best counties in the state, and I'm telling you, I'm doing my State of the County address in 2 weeks. #1, welfare to work. #1 out of 62 counties. And it's all because of our economic program and the momentum we have going on here. Don't give it away for something like this. It's ridiculous. What the casualty you'll have here is because there's literally only two benefits, Madam Chairwoman. You and I work very closely on these projects. Two benefits of economic development coming in here. The jobs when the project's under construction, and then the permanent jobs afterwards. Look what happened with Medline, which is fine, $1.3 million square foot building. They applied for an IDA incentive, got pushed back. They said, the heck with it, we'll do a 485B. Everybody that worked on the construction part of that were from Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Nobody from our local building trades worked there. Costs a lot of money to hire local. That's the cost of living in the state of New York. You guys are gonna get hit with a $10 million bill for Medicaid this year. It's coming. The legislature just approved with the governor today. The people in Albany are not our friends. They have never represented us well. Drive on any state road on your way here. I'm sure you guys need a wheel alignment. Nothing good is coming out of there. So don't give up your authority to them. If you need to reform the IDA, which I'm sure you guys all have ideas, do it locally. Thank you.
Thank you, County Executive. I believe Majority Leader Fagione.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank the County Executive. It's always a great pleasure to have him here in the People's Chamber, and it's always great to work with you. And I really appreciate your leadership and always an open mind and your honest opinion. That's something refreshing these days.
I got to turn my mic off. I apologize.
Oh, thank you.
I just want to address a couple of things, some points here. I think that this resolution speaks for itself, and I know that's cliche, but it really does. It addresses the issues that we find important here in this legislative body, and as I call it, the People's Chamber. And speaking of people, I'd like to talk about the members, the current members of the IDA board. The board members of the IDA are Orange County citizens, each with individual professional backgrounds and experiences collectively that create a dynamic balance for positive economic development in Orange County. We're talking about professionals in the fields of architecture, higher education, labor, land title work, residential and commercial property development, international finance, and more. Many of these board members serve or have served on charity boards in their communities, Rotary clubs, educational foundations, and other civic organizations. These are the people that make our communities a great place to live, work, and to raise families. Each of these board members has been vetted. During the vetting process, these individuals were asked about potential conflicts of interest and related topics that may come up while serving on the board. Each was made aware and given documentation related to their duties on the board. Those documents include an acknowledgement of fiduciary duties for the Orange County Industrial Development Agency, an acknowledgement of fiduciary duties for the Orange County Funding Corporation, a certificate of independence, the IDA's Code of Ethics, as well as a conflict of interest policy. The board members of this IDA were approved by votes here by this legislative body. And as the county exec alluded to, each of these board members must have received at least a minimum of 11 votes from this body. Every single member of this current board of the IDA has been supported by a unanimous vote of this legislative body. And upon appointment, each one of those board members had to adhere to and sign those documents I mentioned before, the acknowledgement of fiduciary duties for the IDA, the Funding Corp. They had to sign a certificate of independence, the Code of Ethics, and a conflict of interest policy. That's the board members. And as the IDA itself is an agency, the IDA, our IDA, has retained outside counsel who is an expert on public authorities. Their counsel has served them well. You want to talk about the IDA as an agency? Let's talk about their transparency. The transparency of the IDA is visible on their website and in their meetings. The website contains volumes of documentation related to the work of the IDA. Board meetings are open and can be seen live online and archived for review. In addition, those meetings are held downstairs in the community room of this building, the People's Building. These public meetings and other public hearings are scheduled at times which are most accessible to the public. The IDA is subject to rules and regulations of the New York State Authorities Budget Office. And you can check out their website. It's abo.ny.gov. There's lots of information there, including updates on reporting schedules that public authorities such as the IDA must adhere to. In fact, in the most recent of the ABO reporting dates, March 17th, there's a listing of public authorities who are under warning by the ABO for failure to file reports on time. And those reports include a report of their budgets, an annual report, and an audit report. And guess what? Not on that list is the Orange County Industrial Development Agency. And I just want to compliment the members of the board. These are citizens in our community, and we are grateful that they've taken upon the challenge to sit on this board. And I would ask that my fellow colleagues support the resolution here. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments? Legislator Brescia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I concur with what County Executive Newhouse said, and as well as Majority Leader Fagione. And I can't believe we're even here today talking about this. I mean, it's overreach at its best, or its worst. You know, Senator Jamie brings this forth. You know, is he not the same senator that headed up the investigative committee for the Senate when the governor forced COVID patients into Valley View and other nursing homes throughout the state and did nothing? It's claimed he did a lot, but he did nothing. Is he not the same senator that voted for bail reform, that put criminals on the street, cost the taxpayers a lot of money and lives? Is he not the same senator that yelled about the raises that we got in this very legislature that we didn't receive for 8 years, but yet he gets a $60,000 worth of raises in the last 3 to 4 years? It's a double standard. And believe me, I sat on the IDA for 19 years, and we all know what happened from the years 16 to roughly 21. I was there before, and I was there during. Very embarrassing. The legislature had to do what it had to do. The DA had to do what he had to do. And I think they were pretty thorough. And we have a new IDA. You know, what happened should have never happened, and I hope it never happens again. You know, wasn't caught by the IDA during those terms. But a lot of good things happened during those years from 16 to 21 as well. A lot of good things, more than probably the previous 5 years. Okay, but a new IDA was appointed by this legislature, very thorough IDA, doing a great job. Mike sitting out there helped head that up. Very happy with what they're doing. Reforms, but even before they did these reforms, the IDAs throughout the state of New York are under such scrutiny and microscopes, excuse me, more than you can believe, with the ABO reporting, the Paris reporting, everything else that goes into what the IDAs do. Plus the public scrutiny and the Senator Jamie screaming about corporate welfare, which it's not, because they're bringing in business. We have a letter from the building trades, which I think Kevin is going to read, opposing this measure. We don't need a monitor for IDAs. We don't need to cripple IDAs in the state of New York. They're bringing us business in. Last year, 180,000 people left the state of New York. And it's certainly not because of IDAs or the partnership or the economic development executives throughout the state or legislatures that are supporting economic development. They're leaving because of the leadership in Albany. And we're being taxed to death in New York State. That's why they're leaving, not because of monitors that you know, certain senators want to bring forth to us. And I'm happy that local labor is opposing it. You know, we instituted the local labor policy to ensure local labor, union and non-union, in the IDA a few years ago. Because I've always supported local labor. And it's throughout the 7 counties. But I mean, it's just, Jamie doesn't know best here. We cannot support what he's trying to do, monitors. We need economic development in this county. As a county exec, we're one of the premier counties, tax stability wise, bond rating and everything in the state of New York. People look to this county, and this is a setback right here for us. If we pass, you know, this measure is to oppose it, I'm sorry. What he's trying to do is setting us back. I mean, he's grandstanding all over the place, and you saw in his last election, he only won by a handful of votes. And he had millions of, you know, $1 million or $2 million, and his opponent's sitting right out there in the audience, and she had $50,000, and she came that close, and she should have beaten him. Should have beaten him. I agree with Majority Leader Fagione. Please support the resolution opposing the monitors.
Thank you, Legislator Brescia. Legislator Tortel.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. First off, I don't honestly remember the vote that the county executive alluded to a short time ago, and I'll stick to the facts and not get into political issues. Listen,
Right, please address the chair.
I'm going to stick to the facts. So my question is, and part of it is to our attorney, do we, as the legislative body, have a say in what IDA grants or tax incentives or reliefs do? Or do we empower that board to make those decisions and we appoint the board? Am I correct in my assumption on that, how that works?
Would you mind fielding that question, please?
Pursuant to the general municipal law, our authority rests with appointing the board members. We do not have any further oversight as far as contracts or anything that move forward through the IDA.
Okay, so this legislation, if I'm reading correct, and your summation tells me that this is going to appoint a monitor or monitors to oversee something that we don't have control over, so it's not taking our power away. Secondly, for many years, I heard, oh, we trust the IDA, it's transparent, everything's on our website, and look at the hot mess we got into with the previous board. Talk about a hot mess, talk about an embarrassment. Not to mention, I've made no secret of it, I'll make no secret of it again today, that I think years ago, a bunch of businessmen came up with this idea, and it's like a freaking shell game. The IDA hands out all these tax breaks. What about the mom and pops? They don't get it because they're only creating 2 or 3 jobs. I am so tired of it. And there's even buildings, and there's been applications where they've said, yes, we're going to continue this expansion, whether we get a tax break or not, for car dealerships, and they still got the tax break. And I was told, how many times? We're transparent. We send everything on our website. We put everything out there. And still, the taxpayers got shanghaied. They got shanghaied by that previous board. I don't vet these people. I don't know what the vetting questions are. This was the first time I heard the alludement of the vetting. I see a resume. I ask questions on my own about the people, maybe somebody who knew them, did business with them, what type of person they are. But I don't see the whole vetting process. I don't know who does on this legislative body. I honestly don't. Why are we so afraid of, it's not taking our power away, we still have the power that we currently have to appoint the board members, to have somebody come in and take another look after the whole mess that we got into? I don't see where everybody's getting in such a twist over it. I welcome it. Take another look. Let it happen. That's my theory. More eyes can't hurt. I'm doing a report, I'm looking at something, I'm doing a 22-tab spreadsheet, and I'm going back and forth. And then I take the data that I got, and I have somebody else look at it for me and say, hey, make sure I didn't mess any of this up. Just look at where I'm putting these things, check it out, see if you agree with what I have there before I submit that as being right. That's my theory. What harm is it to have somebody else looking at the work, especially after the hot mess we've been in the past? Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Legislator Riskevich, please.
Yeah, first, I have a question for Legislative Council. In reading through the proposed bill by Senator Skoufis, there's reference to expenses being reimbursed to the monitors, and it wasn't clear who's paying the salary of those monitors, and is that the state paying, or is that the Orange County IDA?
So my reading of this, in the initial section that seeks to appoint the 2 monitors, my reading of that is that when they're appointed by and serving at the pleasure of the director of the ABO, that's where the salary comes from, but the reasonable expenses of the monitors pursuant to this proposal is to be paid by the Orange County IDA.
Okay. Yeah, and I do also have a few comments. We all know what happened with the IDA. Our sole responsibility as a legislature is to appoint that board. When things went wrong, we took drastic action by removing the old board. We put in a interim board to fix the problems there. We removed the bad actors, changed policies, terminated contracts that were not legal, and ultimately came up with a permanent board, current board. Put in policies. This proposed legislation talks about conflict of interest. The IDA put in a brand-new conflict of interest policy, code of ethics policy, which has already been stated today. And we, as a legislature, came up with a new, very thorough process for vetting individuals that we consider for the IDA. We took a very hard look at the types of people we want to put on the IDA, and we interviewed all of them. I was involved in all those interviews. They're all very good people. They're a volunteer board. Not only that, but they're experts in their fields, experts in economic development. They understand economic development. By putting a monitor in from the ABO is redundant. The IDA reports to the ABO in the first place. The ABO reviews all their reports, all their activities, and has oversight, regulatory oversight over the IDA. So having these monitors is redundant, and if you read, anyone who bothered to read through that proposal, which I did, this would effectively render the IDA board irrelevant. It would take away all their power. You'd be losing all their expertise, and it's just completely unnecessary. It's a waste of taxpayer dollars, and we shouldn't support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Lujan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Firstly, I want to begin by saying that the minority leader unfortunately wasn't able to make it today due to personal reasons, so my comment will be a fusion of both my comments and the minority leaders. I want to begin by saying that myself, and I think many of us here, can fully acknowledge and appreciate the great deal of hard work that's gone into trying to reform the IDA, recalibrating what was clearly a sinking ship. I think that we can definitely give praise to the hard work of everyone here. Senator Skoufis has done a great deal of work here in Orange County, but also we have, Bill Fioravanti has been very, very hard working in this. We had the board members, as has been said, volunteers, individuals who volunteer their time, and who fully came into this recognizing the challenges that they were going to be facing. A public that was going to be scrutinizing their every move, and ourselves, understanding and recognizing the hard work that goes into this. And everyone here, we have all done our best to try to steer this ship from a place that none of us would have ever wanted to be. The reality is, I think that we're all here trying to do the same things, maybe just from a different perspective. We all want to serve the best interests of Orange County residents. And the reality is that, for all of us who've been listening, we were all here at the E&E meeting, and I heard Mr. Fioravanti talk about, the reasoning for why we should be pushing for not having these monitors. But I also, for many of us who've been seeing what's been going on the last couple of months, we've also seen some really big projects that have gone through. $32 million, I think, for one project that didn't even ask for it. Other projects that were getting tons of money, that in reality, we could be using those funds in so many different ways. And so, as I was, doing my due diligence, I wanted to, listen to our experts here that are, Mr. Fioravanti, listen to our senator, listen to our constituents. And that was one of the things I really wanted to do, is to kind of go back to our public, because ultimately that's who we serve. And one of the things that getting away from the politics of who, what, where, when, it was listening to the public that simply really said, the brand has been damaged, the brand is hurting. And for us to really truly recalibrate this IDA, we'd start by doing everything we can to really fix it, the image of it. And so we have tried, but the reality is, as I talk to people now, they see things like this, they see press releases, and they see these projects that are getting millions of dollars, and they say, but what about communities across Orange County that still have the highest unemployment in the region? I've had Mr. Fioravanti come to our board talking about the importance of housing and how that's economic development. Millions of dollars that could be used as incentives to encourage housing with different projects, which is still not happening. And so when I see $32 million for a project, when I see Amazon, a corporation that truly doesn't need those level of tax cuts, that concerns me. And it doesn't just concern me, it concerns my constituents. My constituents who look at an IDA and wonder, well, if everything is so different, then why are some of the practices so similar? And so, again, my concern is when I have community members who come up to me and write and call from all over the county and say, hey, listen, we appreciate the hard work that they're doing, but some of the things that they're working on really kind of makes us scratch our head. These are millions of dollars to these corporations. So I end by saying that I truly, truly believe that a level of monitoring is, if anything, is going to be beneficial because it helps us with those scrutiny and those questions. I will end by saying this. I had mixed feelings about this even being put forward today because I feel that there's so many things that we could be working on. Just a couple of days before, I asked about putting a resolution for Raise the Wage Act, and I felt that was something that was so important, right? We have thousands of people, millions of New Yorkers that are really concerned about raise the wage. And this is something that has immense support by 60% of Republicans that are polled and so many millions of New Yorkers that would be positively impacted by it. If you were to poll monitors, I bet you would actually get more people who would say that they prefer the monitors. And so when I see a resolution like this that's quickly put forward, it also is going to kind of set a lot of alarms to some people. And that's exactly what I've gotten from my constituents, concern about why was this put forward. And so I think it's important for someone to, here might want to talk about that because it's concerning. We want to be supportive of all our partners. We want to make sure that our community members recognize that we're doing our very best under what have been very challenging times. Again, I believe that the best way to show true transparency is adding another layer of monitoring. And I think that is how we serve our community and our districts in the most positive way, and to make sure that the projects that are coming forward, they're not projects that are going to just the Amazons of Orange County, but also the small business owners and the companies that want to come here who really, truly need it so that we can create real job creation, real creative innovation here. That is how we make sure that we spend taxpayer money, not just throw it away to individuals who maybe don't necessarily need it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for your comments, Legislator Lujan. Legislator Ramos.
Thank you, Chairwoman. So I just want to start by saying that I support IDAs and I see the value of IDAs as an economic development engine and tool when used appropriately. And my statements are not going to be a reflection of or centered on Bill Fioravanti or the current board members, but of the processes we can improve on in building back the faith of our IDA. Them doing things like signing disclosures and live streaming meetings are required by law and honestly the bare minimum. There have been letters that showed bipartisan support across the county for improvements in our county IDA, promoting more collaboration with municipalities and school districts, for example. If we all feel and agree that our county IDA is one that can be trusted, I do not see the issue with a monitor or an additional level of checks and balances. Therefore, I will not be supporting this resolution because I think us shying away from additional oversight actually affirms the lack of confidence that exists in our IDA. I want to actually challenge that instead of seeing this as a problem. Why can't it be an opportunity to grow? Why are we having conversations about opposing views and not having conversations about different perspective and considerations for our future here in Orange County and future generations here in Orange County? We have consistent messaging from different Orange County economic development entities, such as the partnership, tourism, and the IDA saying, and we heard it a bunch of times right now, that Orange County is primed and poised for economic development and being consistently scouted for new projects. Therefore, I say we should be more selective. We should not leave any room for poor negotiation. And in fact, the CEO Bill has stated that he wants to revisit the uniform tax exemption policy at the county level. And maybe it is time that and other structural and policy changes happen to allow us to have better mechanisms to become more selective in our incentives. Not all incentives are merited. And in fact, I think we need to move away from the warehouses and manufacturing as a county because there are other fields to consider like science, tech, and green energy, for example. Also, what good is building warehouses with no workforce because there is no housing for people who are working these jobs to live in? The IDA can be one piece of the bigger puzzle to address the critical housing issue in this county, impacting not just low-income families, as it is often perceived, but seniors throughout our districts living on fixed incomes and struggling. We hear it from the Office of Aging, for example. The wait lists are enormous. Seniors are having to leave this county every day. And perhaps the IDA can assist with a county housing study and assessment and incentivizing housing development throughout the county. Dutchess County, for example, just established the Dutchess County Housing Trust Fund in fall of 2022 to address the housing crisis and affordability issue in Dutchess County. I think we can take notes. We can't just keep rubber stamping projects and expecting to get different results. The CEO and board need tools to make better decisions. This is not about them as much as it is about the current processes in place that now have us debating this topic. I support a monitor because I think our IDA is on the road to improving, and therefore it should be of no concern. So I will be a no vote because this is much bigger than the detail of any power one person or entity has for oversight, but about us restoring public faith, which is part of our duties as elected officials, and doing everything we can as a county to do so. So what is the next step for Orange County? When will we start thinking differently and set this county up for the future in a long-term plan? What are we doing now to ensure that 10, 20, and 30 years from now, we will be set apart, and what can the IDA do to help us get there? These warehouses, while continuing to grow, the workforce is getting smaller. We are competing with the global economy, and we need to think bigger and outside the box. Clearly, we can't continue business as usual here in Orange County, so let's aim to do better, which includes not shying away from challenging our processes.
Thank you. Legislator Hines.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let's face it, the reason we have an IDA is because New York State's a tough place to do business. Why is that? Because we have people in New York State that are anti-business and raise the taxes to drive companies out of our area. But here in Orange County, we have the IDA, and we have a county executive whose favorite thing to say is Orange County is open for business. So the senator's resolution basically says Orange County is closed for business, because the monitors have veto power. If you read the resolution that the state has, the two or one or two, it doesn't say whether it has to be two, it says could be two, could be one, which means one person who may not even live in Orange County, may be an Albany friend of somebody that gets appointed, has power to just veto any tax incentive that all of us may support, the executive branch may support, the Orange County Partnership may support, Steve Gross may support, but no, someone who may not even live in Orange County is going to come here and tell us what to do in our county. That's the part I find most offensive with this resolution. We have tremendous companies coming here. What does that mean? We just heard at the Ways and Means Committee meeting from Commissioner Gallagher that our sales tax through March is up 17.4% over our projections. So once again, Orange County is doing a phenomenal job with sales tax. Now, where does that sales tax go? It goes to the concerns of our constituents. It runs our budget, it runs the town budgets, it runs the city's budgets. The sales tax, we give it back to the community to lower their taxes. And what do we do then? We have project labor agreements when IDA money is given out. Project labor agreement means that you're going to get local labor, prevailing wage, an apprentice program, and those people can afford to live and raise a family in Orange County. All 21 of us have to agree that we want people to be able to afford to live in Orange County. Good jobs. What's a good job? One with health benefits, one with 401k opportunities, things like that. Not just something where you get an hourly wage and go home. So when these big companies come in, they tell the IDA, this is our job creation structure. This is how many higher paying jobs are going to be there. This is how many mid-range jobs are going to be there. This is our growth potential. So why should we support this? A vote to support this is a vote for prevailing wage, good benefits, project labor agreements, sharing ratables with our towns and cities. What this state resolution does is it says Orange County is closed for business, because this is targeted at Orange County. There's no other county mentioned out of the 62 in what I read, only Orange County. This resolution would put the IDA out of business, like Legislator Riskevitz referred to, because what company would come and negotiate a pilot with an IDA knowing that somebody that may not even live in Orange County can just say, no, forget it, the deal's off. No one would do that. The reason people come here is because they know we're open for business. They come and talk to Steve Newhouse and Steve Gross first. They might talk to Maureen Hallahan. They might talk to Bill Fioravanti, and they realize, wow, this place is open for business. And yeah, big companies come here. Amazon's here. Legoland's here. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing, because they pay jobs with benefits, pensions, 401ks. The health benefits, a huge piece. So let's keep our sales tax going. And the power that we exercise is the ability, apparently, to fire IDA board members if we don't like them. We've done that. But we don't control their day-to-day decisions. That's the authority's budget office. That's the power that exists now. So to put monitors there, it's substituting for basically saying the ABO's not doing their job, which I agree with. But we don't need some monitor that doesn't live in Orange County telling us what's best. It's absurd and it's insulting. And if I could, Madam Chair, I spoke to Todd DiOrio, and I have a letter. Can I read this letter? So I spoke to the construction trades. Everybody here knows Todd DiOrio, the president of the construction trades. And he asked me to please share this with everybody. He sent something similar up to the state, not only the governor, but the state labor people to also object. But he writes, the Hudson Valley Building and Construction Trade Council is the umbrella organization of 28 local trade unions and 8,000 plus trade workers and covers the counties of Orange, Ulster, Sullivan, and Dutchess. The Hudson Valley Building and Construction Trade Council opposes Senate Budget 4005B Part AAA to install a state-appointed monitor to Orange County Industrial Development Agency. The appointment of a monitor in an oversight capacity to a local agency, such as the IDA, would set a bad precedent and could deter volunteer board members from wanting to serve on these boards. Orange County has seen large growth in economic development over the last several years, and IDA benefits have played a major role to bring many corporations and businesses to Orange County. Most importantly, the use of IDA benefits trigger a local labor policy, ensuring local labor is used on these projects, and in many cases, local union labor. For the above reasons, the Hudson Valley Building and Construction Trade Council opposes Senate budget resolution mentioned above. So there's somebody who's very important to economic development in this county. The Construction Trade Council, all good paying jobs, union benefits. When large companies have come here without pilots, I can think of one off the top of my head, which I won't name because they're a great company, local labor wasn't used. Prevailing wage wasn't used. People from outside our area weren't used to build that project. And when we bring these projects here, think about the ancillary revenue and income. We talked about the sales tax. Workers come here, gas stations, delis, restaurants, coffee shops. So they're not only construction jobs, the benefits just roll and roll. And that is why our sales tax is so phenomenal. So we're doing it right here in Orange County. This resolution by the state is insulting. So I ask everybody to please support this resolution to say no to the state and to say, yes, Orange County is open for business. Thank you.
Legislator Hein. Legislator Tui.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When this legislative body took up this matter, when the IDA came under scrutiny, as the county exec mentioned, the controller, the county taking it into our own hands and went to get help for this and realizing that there was an issue. And then, the state referred it back to the district attorney and was like, no, you've got this. This legislature took steps to remedy the problems from 2016 to 2021 and cleaned house, reestablished the IDA. And as Kevin just said, as Legislator Hines just said, these members are volunteers from our communities, professionals, and they know what they're doing. They were vetted, and they have been misaligned so unfairly. Some of my fellow legislators today have mentioned things that they would like to see Orange County doing. I just want to remind everyone that, the state, I wish that the senator who wrote this and wants to bring this forward, I wish that he spent his time better. Right now, we're fighting for Medicaid dollars, and it's another unfunded mandate. They're going to send it down. I think they wanted to give us 5 out of 20%. Then I think now it might be up to 10%. And it's just the same old story from Albany. And then with SUNY Orange, we're supposed to be in partnership with the state. And, meanwhile, we give more and more, and then the state takes back, and we're supposed to be a third partners, and we don't, and we're just always getting on that end of it. And, you know, with the money that's going on up there, I could go on for a while, but I'm not, but bail reform, abortion up to time of birth, it's ridiculous what's going on in Albany. And, you know, I'm not going to get into it anymore, but, you know, I feel that if Albany wants to help us, they could help us be a better county here. We're doing it on our own. We're not doing it with any help from Albany. And Madam Chair, I want to thank you for the time.
No problem. You're welcome. Legislator Menuda.
Thank you, Chairwoman. So Orange County has become a beacon within the state as far as economic development, as far as lowering taxes, creation of jobs, new businesses. Those who oppose this clearly have no idea what it is to own a business or be in business or what business is actually about. I've heard the previous board being accused of things in this conversation here today, sinking ships, a damaged brand. All this thing does is kick us while we're down. The board had nothing to do with the last portion of this. We had 3 bad actors who had something going on. This county legislature, through several of the legislators here, uncovered what had happened. A new broom swept clean, and we simply took that approach. So everyone who's there is new. What are we afraid of? I'm not afraid of anything. I'm here to protect home rule, not to let someone from Albany come down here and tell us how we should run our county. We're doing just fine without them. In fact, we're doing better without them. We're putting money forth to SUNY Orange that Legislator Tui had discussed. That's nothing new. We do this every year. The state is constantly failing in their share of this. So we have a senator who has created a rule, whereas he was out seen protesting these types of projects. Didn't really get a lot going forward on it, really wasn't heard about it. Nothing happened for him. Yet now he is barely elected for a re-election to Senate and decides to come up with a rule and a law to make himself heard. This is not what we need for lawmaking. This is not what we need in the state. We need less government, not more. We're doing just fine where we are. We are committed to do what's necessary for our county to survive and that of others. Why is Amazon here? Why are the others here? I've heard them mentioned today too. If you don't know why you're here, then you shouldn't even be asking the question. They're here because we got incentives for them. They could have gone anywhere. But based on what we did as a county and what the IDA did for them, they are here. So I'm not going to belabor this any further. I think all of you have spoken eloquently for this resolution, and I would strongly suggest that it be voted in a positive. Thank you.
Okay, last call. Anyone else want to make a comment on this? County Executive, yes.
Let me just follow up on a couple quick things. Number one, County Legislator Swatel said, you know, we would point the board and that's nothing else, right? We can't do anything else. Show up at a public hearing. Any one of the 21 of you guys show up at a public hearing, they're required to have a public hearing. Show up, tell them you don't approve of it, and come back to the 21. Let me tell you, those board members will listen to you. Number two, if you guys want to monitor, appoint your own. You know better, Kevin Darian. The people that you want to put as and I love you, you know that, and I know what Kevin hates when I say this. We have a very good legislature, and I'm going to end on this on a good note, Kevin, so keep smiling. The same people you want to put in as a monitor rubber stamped and said everything was going well. If you did not request an audit, we'd still be getting robbed. Those people do not deserve to be in charge. You want to put up your own audit, have the Democrats pick one, Republicans pick one. Kevin Hines articulated it well. They can veto what you have empowered your board members. You've put Democrats that ran for the hills on the IDA board. I know some of them said, this is killing me. I'm getting crucified in the public and nobody's helping me. The last thing I want to say to you is this. The most impactful thing the 21 of you have ever done, and myself as county executive in county government, is lower the tax rate for everybody in this county. You want to give relief to people? Inflation is a tax on the poor. That's what we're dealing with right now. If your local town or your city or village doesn't want business or wants business, affords jobs or doesn't have jobs for people, that's their prerogative. But the most important thing that we have done collectively, and I think unanimously, was provide real tax relief for every family and every business in this county. And that's what Kevin Hines was talking about. When we bring businesses in here and they generate sales tax, every dollar of sales tax is a dollar of taxes that we do not have to put in property tax. And you guys, some of you that are new to the legislature, remember how I got my start. I sued the Orange County IDA. They needed reform. They were putting the hood over Mike Town in Chester. They've made improvements. They can make more, but you guys should take the lead on it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, having said that, I'm going to ask the roll call to be called by the clerk. Thank you, Jean. Fagion?
Yes.
Benton? Yes. Brescia? Cheney?
Yes.
Ellers? Hines?
Yes.
Lujan? No. Menuda? Yes. Ramos? No. Riskevich? Yes. Sassy? Absolutely. Sutherland? Yes. Tortel? No. Tui?
Yes.
Benelli? Yes. 12 ayes. Number 2, please. Legislators Cheney, Amo, Benton, and Fagion. Resolution of the County Legislature of the County of Orange pursuant to New York State Constitution, Article 9, and Municipal Home Rule Law, Section 40, sending a home rule request to the New York State Legislature seeking enactment of a Senate bill and an Assembly bill for a special law pursuant to New York State Tax Law, Section 1210, extending the 0.75% increase to the sales tax rate.
Second.
Okay. Before I entertain any comments, questions, let the record reflect that Legislator Ramos has left. Okay. Here again, I'm going to ask Legislative Council to just give us a quick overview of all this. Here again, this meeting was called as a special session because these two particular items are very timely as we reflect upon the state budget being adopted. And this is a very important resolution that we have before us right now. It has to do with our sales tax. And by law, we need to extend it every so often. So I'm going to turn it over to Legislator Council Abraham.
So in anticipation of the budget being passed on April 1st, it's important that this be addressed in advance of that. Essentially, the resolution seeks to send a home rule request to New York State Legislature seeking an enactment of the Senate bill and an Assembly bill to extend the 0.75% increase to the sales tax rate that currently exists.
Okay, questions or comments? All right, before I ask for the roll to be called, I would just like to thank Legislative Council, as well as the county attorney, the deputy county attorney, and finance. This was something that they kept in close contact with the New York State Association of Counties and the executive director there. And there were numerous meetings on how to proceed with this. We initially thought we would try for 4 years. It was recommended that we try for 2 because they wouldn't entertain the 4. So there was a lot of running around, but the job was done by everybody involved. And I just want to thank everybody for that. So if there's no questions or comments, I'll ask the roll to be called. Fagion?
Yes.
Benton? Yes. Brescia? Cheney? Ellers? Hines? Lujan, Menuda, Riskevich, Sassy, Sutherland, Tortel, Tui, Benelli. 14 ayes. And with that, I believe the desk is clear. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a few of them. A second? All in favor? Thank you all for making time for this. We appreciate it.